Let's talk about what's going on with Will Chamberlain, because as we talk about our cultural decay and our institutional collapse, Will Chamberlain has tweeted out a law clerk by the name of Elizabeth Deutsch. He says, in his humble opinion, she's the most likely person to have leaked the draft Supreme Court opinion in Dobbs, purporting to overturn Roe v. Wade. He says, a disclaimer, I have no inside information. This thread is speculation based almost entirely on publicly available information. I could easily be wrong. Now, apparently he's being threatened that he's going to get sued over this, which is just laughably stupid. Elizabeth Deutsch is arguably not a public figure, but guess what? People can become public figures. Whoa. Now, Will prefaces he doesn't know for sure. It's a speculation, and you're allowed to speculate. And Will is also a lawyer, so I think he knows what he's doing. But I think this is a really interesting thread because of how the reaction has been. Let me see if I have this one from Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell, you know him, you love him, he farted on TV. He said, under Supreme Court law, as a public figure, I take a lot of defamatory attacks because bar is too high to sue. Ms. Deutsch is not a public figure and would likely have a strong defamation case against Will Chamberlain. Republicans are bullies, but they always back down when challenged. Ron Coleman says, you are not scaring anyone, but you are getting some of us pretty excited. And then it's Elmer Fudd saying, I love civil litigation. Okay. So here's the gist. I'll just give you the simple version. She is, according to this thread from Will, she's like a reproductive rights activist. Is that how they call it? Her academic background isn't uncommon. He says things get interesting. Every law student has to write a note, a long legal research paper, making a novel argument about the law. Hers is about reproductive rights and abortion. She argued that Obamacare's non-discrimination provision should be interpreted to force Catholic hospitals to perform emergency abortions. Aggressive argument, but hey, law students are aggressive. He says while in law school, she wrote a New York Times op-ed about reproductive rights. Her career page on LinkedIn doesn't reveal that much until we dig a little further. Thanks to her New York Times wedding announcement, of course, we know that she clerked for Judge Nina Pillard. Pillard was one of the D.C. Circuit judges appointed by Obama and forced through by Harry Reid, blowing up the filibuster. She's stridently pro-choice, perhaps not shocking. After her clerkships, she got a Gruber Fellowship at the ACLU for a full year, working on abortion and reproductive rights. None of this proves anything. Deutsch's career seems pretty focused on abortion, but without some connection to Josh Gerstein, the journalist who received the leak, there would be no reason to suspect her. Let's go back to that New York Times wedding announcement. The bride and groom she met at Yale, she is a lawyer, he is a journalist. Isaac Arnsdorf just got hired by the Washington Post as a national political reporter. Of course, he's on the Trump beat. But where has he written in the past? Politico, sharing a byline with Josh Gerstein.
Interesting.
So that's the connection. Says looks like Gerstein and they are still bros, chatting on Twitter, interacting as recently as last year. To conclude, we have a currently sitting Supreme Court law clerk whose career has been almost solely focused on abortion. She wrote her law school note on abortion. She wrote op-eds about reproductive rights. Spent a year working on abortion at the ACLU. Clerked for a pro-choice judge. And just so happens that her husband is a journalist sharing bylines with Josh Gerstein at Politico, and it looks like they're still friends. Sharing a byline means they worked together.
Right.
Like they've shared this story that's published, so they know each other for sure. He says, I don't know that Elizabeth Deutsch leaked the draft opinion, but I certainly think someone who has spent much of their academic and professional life fighting to expand the right to get an abortion could be desperate enough to do so. I think it's an interesting thread and some good journalistic work. He didn't publish any private details outside of here's a person who publicly works for the court and we're looking for a leaker. Robbie Suave says, what is the argument that it's okay to do this, but not to reveal the name of libs of TikTok?
Please.
Ian Miles Chung, she's not anonymous for one. And secondly, Will didn't publish Deutsch's home address. She's not anonymous. She's literally a law clerk. Someone leaked the information. We're going to start looking who the publicly available information on law clerks is. Libs of TikTok's name was not in the public, but my argument on that one was always, I disagree with it, but there's an argument to be made about the journalistic issue around whether or not who someone is should be public knowledge. Considering Libs of TikTok had 600,000 followers and was influencing politics, I think the reporting was warranted, but the name didn't serve a purpose. Posting the home address was crossing the line. As for this is not an anonymous person. This is someone who has stamped law clerk at the Supreme Court under their name. All of this is in the press. Libs of TikTok's information may have been public, as they argue, but it was in like registries. It was in like real estate licenses. There was nothing saying LinkedIn, person, libs of TikTok, like this individual has. Now they're threatening to sue. I wonder if Will is over target on this one and he actually found who may have leaked the...
Also, making popular memes on Twitter or not even making popular memes, sharing videos on Twitter
Of other people.
and
posted, yeah.
being at the highest court in the land. That those are like two different categories of power. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
posting memes is way more powerful
Of
than
course.
being a law clerk at the Supreme Court.
I'm sorry, I just don't buy that this isn't a public person. You know, you work for a member of Congress that's publicly known. You know, if you tweet something as a member of Congress, I guarantee you the New York Times or whoever will go after you. So, you know, I think, look, Will is an incredibly smart guy. He's very careful. I imagine he went through all of these clerks and kind of did some process of elimination. And look, I mean, this is really interesting. You know, the media is not going to do anything about this, right? They're not going to look for the leaker. They're happy it happened. So
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to have to be on people like Will and other sleuths to
This
find
is the
out.
media as well, and so that's part of how we're changing what the media is.
Right.
We're so used to being outside of the building looking in that the media usually refers to the establishment, but we're taking over. We're taking that space. So the corporate press, I
Yeah.
think, is usually...
Even this is corporate press at this point.
This is not corporate
Timcast
press.
is a corporation.
That's not what it
we're
means.
usurping that title.
The
this
bad-
is
I
the
mean,
new
the
corporate
bad-
this
media.
is why
Okay.
The good, you guys are
Here
the
come
good
the
media.
semantics that are
I
completely
am the
immaterial to the
semantic
argument.
master. You know what's been crossing my mind? That it's a spouse. Somebody talk to their spouse. It's so easy to go home after work and lay in bed all stressed out and just blab about what you did at the job. So it's very well could have
But
been
they'd
her
still,
husband.
they'd still have to
or-
get it.
They had the physical 98-page
Yeah, you
draft.
need it.
And
Yeah,
apparently
okay.
that's
And
like
there's
really
collusion.
limited in terms of who could have it.
I'm
Yo,
not saying that this.
dude.
I don't know what this is. This is real.
Tons of journalists are married to people in politics.
Yeah.
It is
gross.
one thing. It is not the fourth estate. I think the press was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the fourth estate and what's the third estate? Is that which one? Which
Yes.
is it? Is the
I think
third
it's-
estate government?
I think it's the third estate.
I don't know. Whatever.
Let's look
Whichever estate is supposed to be, elected representatives has merged with journalism,
gross.
and now it's polilism.
Now it's a
Polinism.
monopoly of states. A monopoly of
it's all-
estates.